This video may contain mild spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse depending on how much you like to be informed about a movie before going to actually see it. You have been warned. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a ridiculously good half movie. Somehow it manages to take the animation barriers pushed in Into the Spider-Verse and absolutely blow them out of proportion. We get a bunch of new characters, fleshed out backstories, and character arcs for recurring characters, and that exact same feeling after the movie ends that makes you think, what the hell did I just watch? For this video, mainly because I want to release it as soon as I can, and also because I don't have access to a lot of footage from the movie, I'm mostly just going to be playing movie trailers as visuals, so you can totally just listen to this video if you want. Anyways, without further ado, it is time to be extraordinary. I'll start off with the animation, the craziest part of this movie. Just like in Into the Spider-Verse, each world has its own unique animation style to it, an identifying mark. With the gradual expansion of the Spider-Verse as a whole relative to the audience's experience, this continues to be a visually groundbreaking concept. At times, there are dozens of spider people all in one frame, and each person looks either subtly different or dramatically different to the person they're standing next to. A perfect example, I feel, of subtle differences is Miles and Gwen. When those two are next to each other, they definitely look like they're drawn in pretty much the same exact style, but when I was in the theater with the lights off and nothing to focus on but the gigantic screen in front of me, I saw subtle differences in each of them I couldn't possibly point out to you. A perfect example of dramatic differences is Spider-Punk and, I don't know, pick your poison. He's got a very unique style to him. Sort of like if a 6-year-old scribbled crayon all over a piece of paper and then hired a professional artist to draw a character piece over it, which I feel is very fitting for his character, which for spoiler reasons I'm obviously not going to get into. Which brings us to our next topic, the characters. Across the Spider-Verse introduces a wave of new characters, each with unique takes on the same quippy Spider-Man personality. I really like how each goes through a little cutaway micro-origin story that adds diversity and variety to the classic Spider-Man tropes. On the flip side, there are quite a few returning characters that get a lot more substance to them. Miles starts his screen time dealing with the classic superhero trope of living a double life, but this time it felt like the focus was much more so on his parents, Jefferson and Rio, and how they were dealing with the situation. In fact, there were a lot of scenes in this movie where we were clearly following Miles, but it was the supporting cast that quote-unquote filled the room more than he did, if that makes any sense. For example, there were a few heart-to-heart moments between Miles and Rio where Miles' guilt and internal conflict were definitely evident, but it felt like it was Rio's motherly concern and desire to help her son through whatever he was struggling with that brought the emotion to the scene. In addition, I think the biggest character to receive more screen time is Gwen. Across the Spider-Verse takes the time to give her a full backstory, which I think makes her an even more likable and interesting character. I also feel like it adds realism to her and Miles' relationship. Speaking of which, I just have to say that I love those two. Their relationship feels organic and wholesome, and I just love every second of them together. No matter how their relationship ends up, I really like it the way it is right now. Platonic. My two favorite relationships in all of fantasy are platonic, Harry and Hermione from Harry Potter and Kvothe and Denna from the Kingkiller Chronicle before the shit hit the fan, and Miles and Gwen remind me of both. They clearly understand each other on a deep level and truly care about each other. They just mesh together so beautifully. The final topic I'll cover is the plot. Obviously not specifics, I'm trying to keep spoilers to a minimum because this movie only came out like a week ago. What I want to discuss is the fact that this is a half movie. It ends on a cliffhanger, and I have become aware of the fact that it does not feel like a satisfying ending to some people. I'll only say this, I am more than okay with the ending. I have yet to have a major criticism for either film in the trilogy, so needless to say, I trust that this is for the best. I wouldn't describe it as sequel bait. I can't even say I left the movie theater dissatisfied because I didn't. What the ending feels like is they were working on this super insane story filled to the brim with content and eventually decided that it was way too long to make into a single movie, so they pretty much just cut it in half. For the record, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is coming out in like 5 or so months, so that just supports my theory. Also, I'll just mention here that the soundtrack is, once again, absolutely incredible. Enough said. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, you already know what to do. If you've already seen Across the Spider-Verse, let me know all your spoiler-free thoughts in the Patronus section down below. If you haven't seen it yet, let me know how much more excited you are to see it after watching this video. Anyways, that's all I've got for y'all today. Thanks so much for watching, and stay extraordinary, you incredible sci-fi fantasy nerds. Peace.